Hey everyone, I'm sitting here this morning contemplating about emotions with the Lord, and I want to encourage you with some things that He's been showing me and talking to me about. So, emotions. So, I woke up this morning. We've been having this unusual gloomy weather here in Colorado. Usually it's super sunny. We're all used to getting our vitamin D, and it has been cloudy and rainy spring season this year. Feels like it's been more rainy than usual. I don't know if that's true, but it's what it feels like. And it was one of those mornings where, man, it would have been super easy to just hit the alarm off, roll over, and check out for the day. Just not show up, snuggle into the bed, and just sleep the day away. But I'm sure you, as well as myself, know that can't always do that. We have to adult up, right? We have things that we need to do and places to be and people counting on us to do the things that we've said we're going to do. So we have to put aside what our emotions are feeling and just do it, right? Do what we need to do, whether we're feeling it or not. So I was contemplating this whole concept with the Lord because, man, emotions are a very real thing. God Himself is emotional. And when I say that, I don't mean to make this picture that God doesn't have a handle on His emotions. He certainly does. But He feels things. You can't read through the Bible without recognizing that God is a feeling God, and He has made us in His image, and so we too feel things. The issue is coming to a place where we're not allowing those emotions to dictate what we do if the emotions are keeping us from doing the things that we need to do, right? So it's great when emotions are a good thing. They're not always a bad thing, okay? Emotions add flavor to life. They add color to our experiences, and they can be a good thing. But when emotions are keeping us from doing what we need to do and what is best for us and the people around us, then emotions have taken higher authority than what needs to be done. And so in that case, emotions are kind of out of place and out of whack. So I was actually thinking about Jesus. He is our model. And I love to think about things that He did and how He operated and glean from His life to get application for my own. So I was thinking about how Jesus felt. There's a verse. It's actually the shortest verse. So if you want to say that you've memorized a verse, you can memorize Jesus wept. It's in the Bible. He hears of the news of John the Baptist, and he goes off by himself, and it says Jesus wept. He cried. And we don't really know specifically what was going on in his heart and mind that caused him to cry. We could sit here and surmise and speculate, but I'm not going to do that with you. That's not the point. The point is that he felt, okay? And when we read all of the gospel accounts, we see Jesus. He feels, he has compassion, he gets worked up about stuff. He definitely feels too. But I noticed some things when I was thinking through this whole concept about our emotions that, and not wanting to come to a place where our emotions are betraying us. We don't want our emotions to betray us. We want our emotions to support us, to be our helpful sidekick, right? So I noticed two things that Jesus was modeling. One, I noticed that Jesus, in times of intensity, when He was feeling emotions, He would often go away and be alone with the Lord. He would have concentrated time with God because Jesus recognized that God is our true north. And so it's easy to get feeling like we're being tossed about, like we're this ship on the ocean that's being tossed around by the waves of life, right? But we need the Lord. I was going to say we need Jesus. We need God to be our true north, the compass that points us to God. And Jesus would get away with the Lord, and he would spend time locking eyes with God, where he was concentrated in giving his full attention to the Lord. And in those moments, he would behold God for his fullness. And when he saw God in his fullness, he was reminded of who God is and who God is for him. And he was also reminded of who he was and what he was there for. And so we too need to do that. We need to take times when we are feeling emotions and the swirl of life around us to get away with the Lord, to take time to just lock eyes with him and be reminded of who he is. You know, everything that we need in that moment to overcome the emotions that are betraying us, God holds. And so if we will look to him, he will be that for us. And sometimes we need to just get away with him and get filled up. You know, Jesus, sorry, I'm looking at my notes. He would get away, you know, when crowds were pressing in on him and people were pulling from him. And, you know, he was happy to minister to people, but often when you read accounts where there were large groups of people that he was with for a long, long time, he would pull away after that, and he would spend alone time with the Lord to get filled up and resourced, and to get his compass pointing north. Not that Jesus's compass ever went off, but, you know, he knew the principle of what was needed, that we need time with the Lord to get filled up. The other thing that I saw with Jesus was that when emotions and things around him, when the things around him were intense, he did it anyway. And that's like the word that I felt the Lord was pressing on me this morning. Regardless of whatever emotions you're feeling, if your emotions seem to be betraying you from doing what you know you need to do it anyway. So if you're afraid, do it afraid. It's okay. Just do it, because we are in a very real battle, guys. And there's a very real enemy who's using his resources to keep us from doing the things that we need to do, because he knows that a lot of times our breakthrough is just on the other side of obedience. And he also knows that our calling sometimes and our purpose is beyond the threshold of fear. I've often found that the things that I feared the most were the things that I found the greatest joy in when I crossed over, when I faced that fear and I stepped into it afraid anyway. The elation and the joy that I would find in doing the thing that I was terrified to do was amazing. And it eventually became a thing that I absolutely loved and would find so much purpose and joy in the kingdom in by doing those things. And had I stayed in fear and not ever tried those things, I never would have known that joy, and I never would have known that pleasure. Jesus knew that. I think about all the people that betrayed him throughout the Bible. You know, Judas. I don't know if Jesus knew that he was going to be the one to betray him. But I heard somebody say once that, you know, Jesus probably knew that Judas was stealing money or had issues with money, you know, yet he made him treasurer. He had him hold on to the money anyway. Peter certainly betrayed him. Jesus, in love, tells him what's going to happen, gives him a heads up, and then is very purposeful in pursuing Peter afterwards, you know, and he restores him and he calls them up into greater things even after it, and we get upset about stuff, and as Christians, a lot of it, we jump around from church to church because people get offended or hurt by something, and we don't want to press in. And here Jesus had every right to not pursue people and to guard himself by certain people that had betrayed him, right? But instead, he presses in. He loves anyway, even when emotions would have been very easy to say, guard yourself, don't trust that person, keep distance, they hurt you. Jesus loves them anyway. He often was going from city to city, sharing his message that God had put on his heart to share, that the kingdom of God is at hand. He's declaring this. In some places it was super well received, in some places was not. In fact, there's many accounts where people got so mad they were trying to stone or kill Jesus. Yet what does he do? Emotions would have said, maybe you should tone it down a bit or lay low for a while. But Jesus goes right on to the next city, and he shares the message that God had put on his heart anyway. He didn't let fear or the displeasure of man keep him from doing what God had called him to do. He went and did it anyway. And of course, the biggest example of Jesus doing it anyway, despite what he was feeling, was going to the cross. We see a very detailed description of what Jesus was going through in the Garden of Gethsemane. Right here, both principles are played out. Jesus pulls away from everybody and goes, and he's with the Lord. He connects with him. And there's all kinds of things that are swirling around him. He is being pressed by the enemy on all sides, to the point the Bible even talks about that he's sweating blood. I've never felt so much intensity that I've sweat blood. I don't know about you, but that's pretty crazy. And that's what Jesus was going through. And he goes to the Father in that state because he knows that's where he needs to be. And then, despite what he's feeling and despite what he's going through, he goes to the cross anyway. So that's my encouragement for you today, guys. I don't know what emotions you're feeling, and I don't know what odds are up against you today. But my encouragement would be, take it to the Lord, be with him in it, and then whatever it is you need to do, whatever do it anyway. So if you're feeling like shame and you don't want to go spend time with the Lord, go with him anyway. If you're feeling frustrated and angry at situations and circumstances and it doesn't feel like God's on your side, just declare that he is anyway and speak that out. Say the truth anyway, even if your emotions are telling you the opposite. Okay? Don't let your emotions rule over you today. Don't let your emotions betray you. Rise above your emotions. Declare the truth, regardless of your circumstances and regardless of how you're feeling. Speak the truth anyway and spend time with the Lord and do the things. Even if you're feeling afraid, do it afraid anyway. Okay, guys, be blessed.